Welcome to Beyond the Frontline podcast, where your host, U.S. Air Force veteran Donna Hoffmeyer, will help you transition from the front line to the home front. Listen every other Wednesday as we'll bring great conversations, resources, tips, and feel-good stories that will resonate and relate. Now, here's your host, Donna Hoffmeyer.
Hey everyone, it's Donna, and this week we are having a really neat interview. I'm so excited. One of my favorite parts of this podcast is the people that reach out and want to share the cool things that they're doing. And I get to meet so many awesome people. And this one just totally intrigued me. And I'm not even going to tell you what it is right now. We're just going to have a discussion because she's not a veteran, but what she's doing is very related to our veteran culture. So I'm going to leave that there, and I'm going to kind of tell you a little bit of her background. Her name's Anna Redman, and she's the founder and CEO of Braav. And we're going to talk about that later on here. And in Braav, she deploys experienced chief security officers into organizations that need to get serious about safety and risk really fast. So she saw a gap and she filled the gap using her skill set of finding these security officers for these businesses. And it was a little bit of an unconventional path. We're going to talk about that later too. And her background was in venture capital, and she's a very smart one because she studied at Harvard and then used her skill set and got into the world of security. And as I tell you guys all the time, right, you see these people doing these really neat shifts, right? And you kind of think how did we do that? And it's that soft skill, right? So you learn soft skills, and I swear to God, they're more important than your hard skills. So I will harp on that every time we get a chance to talk about that, is know what your soft skills are, because they can translate into so many different things. And for her, it went from venture capital to chief security officer, and now she's focused on a whole new venture, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to let her tell that story. Hi, Anna. How are you?
Hi, Donna. It's such a pleasure to be here.
I'm excited. So excited. This was just so neat. I was like, oh, I love this whole concept. So, and I get to kind of play in it with you, which the whole audience is like, what the hell is she talking about? So we're going to get into let's step through, because I kind of harped on the soft skills, where you were at. I kind of alluded to the things you were doing and how you stepped over to where you are now.
Sure. So if you had told me 10 years ago that I would be in security, much less working with challenge coins, I would have said, what the heck is that?
Right.
It's been quite a journey, and a really great one, actually. I graduated from Harvard, had a master's in history of science, went to work in venture capital, then went over to a couple of different hedge funds. So I was sort of squarely on the investment side. I've always had an entrepreneurial streak and knew that at some point I wanted to build my own business. I'm one of those people who always has a different idea of how things should be done. And sometimes you're like, okay, I'm just going to go do it myself. So I built a very different business with a lovely co-founder. We were creating thought leadership platforms for Fortune 500s and did that for about, 7 or 8 years. And in 2020, we began to wind down a portion of that business, transition another portion. And roughly at the same time, I just became aware of all these security gaps, specifically around businesses. Some of it just felt like a time period where people felt profoundly unsafe. I had a moment where I was sitting at a Starbucks in Los Angeles. I had just dropped my kids off at a class across the street, and I saw a guy cross the street and literally get physically assaulted by, I think, an unhoused individual. Something had happened. There was an altercation. They were literally fighting on the other side of this massive Starbucks picture window, and no one knew what to do. Everyone was standing there sort of frozen in place with their jaws on the floor, like, oh my gosh. The police were called. Now I know what I didn't know then, which is that was a time period when they were just horrifically overworked and understaffed. So it took them a very long time to get there. But I went home at the end of the day, and it made me feel super uneasy. And I started really exploring, gosh, what are the private solutions for businesses that want to stay safe? And the thought really wouldn't leave me. And it turned into about a year and a half's worth of exploration. I went from, literally knowing zero people who had served, zero first responders or police officers, to now being so fortunate to have a great number of them among my close friends, trusted advisors, and got the confidence built up to really launch Braav, which initially began, and now we have these two sections of the business, including the challenge coin piece, which I'm excited to chat about. But it really began as a way for businesses to quickly get high level chief security officer horsepower into their offices quickly, because what I learned, and this was kind of my instinct on the business side, because I stepped into it not knowing security at all, but really, really understanding customer demand and pain points. And what I saw were a lot of HR departments forcing their senior HR staff to make security decisions, ranging from how do we handle a hostile termination to do we need cameras or armed guards, or do we need drones, or we're moving offices? What do we need to do to make sure the new office is safe? And often these HR leaders felt really out of their depth and just frankly uncomfortable making decisions that, to someone maybe in senior leadership seemed simple, like, oh, just go buy some cameras. But as you and I know, there is so much nuance and complexity in security work. So we began deploying these chief security officers to great acclaim, grew very robustly through word of mouth. People loved the model. And I think for me, I just, I always say this, I really fell in love with the community because, you have to remember, I came from a very business environment where it was just sort of assumed that fundamentally at the end of the day, you're in it for you, right? Like for something that relates to you. And then suddenly I was in this community where people in a really fundamental, profound way really cared about service, really cared about making sure others were safe. And that was the North Star. And I was like, oh my gosh, not only does this, frankly, I think it made me a better person having those sorts of interactions, but also I was like, why is no one telling these stories, right? All of the news about police officers and military personnel, it's cherry picking for all of the bad stuff, for taking anything and trying to spin it negatively. And I saw so much, courage and valor and kindness. And so the Challenge Coin project actually started as kind of like my desire and tribute to elevate that.
So I sitting here listening, I was kind of smirking because it seems like did you have a lot of hospitals that started to need your services?
We will be right back after this short break. When you serve your community, you deserve a team that has your back. At Coming Home Well and the Transitioning Warrior Outreach, we proudly partner with Big Frog Custom T-shirts and more of New Braunfels, Texas. As a veteran-owned local business, Big Frog delivers top-quality company-branded apparel, custom shirts, team apparel, or personalized gear with unmatched service. Support the business that truly supports our heroes. Visit bigfrognb.com today. Thanks for sticking with us. Now back to the episode.
It's interesting. We talked to a handful. We actually honed in more so on corporate clients because we found that hospitals typically had spent more time thinking about security infrastructure. And there were a lot more corporates that really hadn't allocated them the right amount of resources.
That's come up in the last, well, I mean, it's probably been a couple decades now, but I mean, I don't think there's hardly anybody around that was in the medical field that either doesn't know somebody with the story or has a story of hostile kind of, so whether it's a belligerent person verbally or physically, and sometimes it's out of that person's hand. I mean, I got kicked square in the face by a patient that, yeah, and it wasn't, she had no cognizance. She had a subdural hematoma and wasn't, and for some reason, every time the nurses tried to give her medicine, she got very agitated. Well, anyways, they said, Donna, can you hold her feet? And before I could get there, one came up and launched me right between the eyes. and that's somebody that's no, you know what I mean? Like you're not going to send security on them and attack them. But in the big picture, like ERs, just
Yeah.
you've seen them, you've seen these
Yeah.
stories, so they are definitely, it's a thing now in these hospitals, like security. And I know people that's what they specialize in. They're nurses that specialize in the safety of them, and hard situation when you're trying to help somebody and they're trying to hurt you, kind of all
Yeah.
confused. So I was just
No, it's
curious.
and they're known, by the way, as being a tough, very tough place to work security in
Oh,
hospitals.
I can only imagine that's I said you're at a place where you're supposed to be helping people and now you got to defend yourself, which is not consistent with what you're supposed to be
Not
doing.
at
So
all.
very weird. But what I love is like you're kind of like me. We were talking about this before the podcast started. Like my favorite place would be a think tank. And I was like, just big ideas and you see a gap and you figure out how to fill that. And your soft skills lend to that. You know what I mean? You had that there. And to find, you said something that just caught my attention. I was like, huh, you kind of validated a thought where corporate versus service, for lack of better
Yeah.
terms. Because I've worked in, I'll say pseudo corporate, like kind of levels before, and it felt so weird. I was just telling somebody too, I'm like, the way I would describe it is like I walk in, I think I'm speaking English, but I'm actually speaking Korean, but I don't even know Korean, but they seem to know Korean and they're taking my words that way. And I'm like, I'm totally lost. It had
Yeah.
such a different feel than the world of service.
Yeah.
So for you to come into that and to embrace that and then turn around and find another gap. So how did the whole challenge coin? So that was the whole thing I was talking about, was like I wanted you to talk about is you now are doing the security, you meet the first responders and the military, the veterans and all that. And how do you learn about challenge coins? Like, was it them telling you? Are you seeing it? Or what was the...
Yeah, so I went in having no clue what they were at all. Now, of course, I know that over 30 million Americans have some sort of challenge coin, either
Mhm.
through, their military service, first responder, CIA, FBI, Air Force, fire. A number of private security companies will actually mint them. Then there are some corporates that have kind of joined into the tradition, but the very first time, one of my advisors gave me a challenge coin. And then another gentleman that I met, we were developing a relationship and starting to work together, and he gave me one. And my reaction was like, this is so cool, but what is it? Like tell me the story. And I heard, the amazing narrative about the pilot who was shot down. I know it's a little bit apocryphal. No one's traced the sort of
Right.
name or the identity, but in World War I and sort of used the challenge coin to save his life. I've heard all of the different challenge coin drinking
I was
traditions, and
just gonna ask.
I love that they're there's not 100% clarity. And in fact, to me, that made it all the more charming a tradition. And I spent time kind of poking and prodding. And I was like, well, so what I was told at least is that either it's you have to carry the same coin that someone else has, or there's apparently a version where it's sort of like the one-upmanship of like who has the better coin. And I said, okay, well, what's better? Is it a Navy SEAL coin, or is it a Green Beret coin, or is it a coin from a two-star general? Like, how would you determine that? And I just then would sit back and enjoy hearing people debate those sort of topics. But I received these coins, thought they were super cool, took them home, showed them to my husband, showed them to my kids, and then really began to think about the tradition. And the thing that struck me was just frankly how fragile it was. And I say fragile because even though the coin is hefty and metal and dense, it's a small physical object, right? It could be lost, it could be misplaced. And then the most important part of the coin isn't the metal, it's the memory, right? It's
Mhm.
where were you? Who gave it to you? What was the name of the person? What happened in that moment? And as I started to hear these stories, they were all, the unifying thread was people really feeling seen, right, for something. And sometimes it was an act of extreme courage and valor. Other times it was tenacity, right? Having done something over a period of time. Other times, I had a Navy SEAL tell me that I think he may have actually, I think he was on SEAL Team 6 actually, and he said that the challenge coin to him, he was like, that's like a PhD. That was 8 years of my life to get that coin. And that sent chills down my spine. So the thing that kept sticking with me is like, gosh, we have this, and then it's so easy to lose because we talked to people who would have these beautiful walls of challenge coins, and they would point to specific coins and say, this one is so special. Darn it, I can't even remember the last name of the person that gave it to me. Why can't I remember? Or they'd forget the date, or they'd forget some detail. So this was all sort of percolating in my mind. I was like, oh my gosh, this needs to be preserved in some way, right? And this dovetails with my instinct that we need to start telling good stories, right? We need to save the good stories, and we need to tell them both on a national stage, but even just on your personal stage between you and your family, you and your children, you and your cousins, you and your small network. And so we built Braav, a challenge coin, which to us really signified the ability to do two things. One, it's a space, and your listeners can log on and check it out. It's a space to preserve your existing coins. You can take a very quick photo and put them up there, and there's a lovely digital interface where the coins will sort of turn front to back, and there's room to add coin stories and notes and the date that you got them. And once you've done all of that, you have sort of a digital challenge coin wall that you can post to your LinkedIn, to your Facebook, to your Twitter, wherever you want. And people can click on it and explore and find out what coins you have and see them and maybe ask you questions about them. And the second piece of it, which we're super excited about, is the ability to mint a digital challenge coin. And we originally thought of it primarily as a challenge coin twin. So, and we have some early users that are proving this out, where they will mint a physical coin, and at the exact same time, they'll make the digital twin, and the two are meant to be handed out together. And the digital coin preserves the provenance and has the whole story of the coin, not just the name of the coin, the date, and the person that gave it to you, but also, what's the history of the coin being made? What does the coin signify to the giver of the coin? We've also, in the digital coins, embedded the ability to do video and multimedia. So one of our first users, one of my advisors, he's in charge of special warfare recruiting. He's an active duty Navy SEAL, William Rays, and his coin has a lovely video that basically tells the story of his deployments and his journey through the SEALs.
Nice.
So if he hands that out, someone who maybe doesn't know him so well can then get the physical coin, enjoy it, and then go find the digital coin, almost like an Easter egg, to learn more about him. And we've just launched, I could talk for like 3 hours about features, so I'll kind of rein myself in, but I'll tell you about this one, and then I'll pause. We've actually launched what we call a living coin, which means that the issuer can actually keep pushing media or text to the holders. And that's incredibly useful. For example, if a fire department is selling coins as a fundraiser, and they have an audience, and these folks have bought their coins, and they have the physical coin and the digital twin, and then maybe one of the firefighters is honored for doing something extraordinarily heroic. And they're like, you know what, we want to let the challenge coin holders know about it. So they push a photo, and those folks can log into the platform and see, oh my gosh, there was an update to this coin. Or I joke with Will, I'm like, or, maybe one day, Will, you're governor of Texas. And then you want to push that to the holders of your coin that you met 10 years ago. So there's an opportunity to develop a relationship and to actually remember who holds your coin, which is something that you don't have when you're just giving them out physically.
We're stepping away for a quick break to hear from V2M Veteran Magazine.
Looking for stories that truly matter to our military community? Discover V2M, the Veteran Magazine. Read online at v2mag.com.
Right. Well, what comes into my head, is the whole, so there's about 1,000 or so World War II vets that are left.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
joke around. There's a veteran assisted living facility in not far from us, about 45 minutes, and there's 9 World War II vets there. And first I was like, "So you have all the World War II vets, don't you?" I'm like 9 in one location. I was like, "My goodness." But and the Vietnam vets are, that's
Yeah.
my dad's age, so that's your 80s, right? The World War II vets are over 100 now. They're in the hundreds, right? And like you said, like you see the coin and they'll be like, "Oh yeah." And you can't remember the details anymore. Just time happens or dementia happens
Yeah. Yeah.
or just your memory phase or whatever it is. Or, you pass away and your kids are like, "Oh yeah, all these coins." And
What
they
the
don't
heck
even
are
know
they?
what they're holding. Yeah. It's kind
Yeah.
of like, it's like going on the antique show, like when they
Hmm.
bring out the
Hmm.
whatever and they're like, I just saw one the other day, the lady had this necklace and they're like, "Oh, it's worth $150,000. And the lady's like, "What?" She didn't even know what she was holding. And that's what I feel like with these people, they don't know what they're holding, with their
Yeah.
family. And, and it's so it brought me back my great uncle in our family, and I've told this story in other episodes, that he was a drunk. I'll put quotes on that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
He was the drunk, right? And he was always drinking. Anytime I saw him, he had a beer in his hand. Nice enough guy, but just
Hmm.
always drunk. And my brother had had a little homework thing to do, and he had to interview somebody from this era, and he interviewed our Uncle Joe. And Uncle Joe never talked about, we knew he was in the military, but we didn't know much else.
Hmm.
Well, it's amazing how
Wow.
people will open up to a little 10-year-old kid, right? And come to find out, and at the time it didn't mean anything to me because I was a kid, but when I was an adult, I was like, "Holy crap, he was one of the cliff climbers, one of the at D-Day." So yeah. So when you see Saving
Oh my
Private Ryan and he's climbing the
gosh.
cliff, he's
Oh my
19 years old. He was
gosh.
a cliff climber. And he got up and obviously survived.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and
Jeez,
now
what
as
a
an adult,
story.
well, and then I was just really angry because by that time he had passed away. And I was just so frustrated because now with everything I did, I was like, "My God, I could have got him help. We could have, whatever it was."
Hmm.
He
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
Uncle Joe the drunk, right?
Yeah.
So these coins, it's a safe space for them to write down why they got it is not
Yeah.
telling your family members anything. It's just writing the story that they can go back and look at, but it's your space, right? And you choose to share this with people as you want. It's your space, but you now have this memory and these stories. And then at some point, they can read it, but it doesn't have to be that intense, me telling you the story. And
Hmm.
why do they not want to say it? Because then when they remember, their brain goes into
Hmm.
fight flight. So you don't have to do that. You can write it, or somebody can write it for you, and then people can come into your museum, so to speak, and
Hmm.
look at that.
No, 100%. And then the other piece that excites me is the ability to connect with people that hold the same coins, right?
Yeah.
And you and I talked about this, and you had an incredible story that I'd love for you to reshare. But the vision was, I heard from so many people that some coins are just happy and positive, and then there are coins that are minted to commemorate events where people lost their lives. And with some of those, people shared with me, gosh, if I knew who held this same coin, that would be an opportunity for me to reconnect with those people, remember, moments that were hard, and to know that you'd be heard and understood. And they said, like, maybe even find, the widows or the children of these people that were so dear to them, that were with them, and
Yeah.
are no longer with us. And I think I found that use case to be lovely and full of meaning.
I think my friend Cheryl popped in my mind. Cheryl used to be a military liaison for a very large healthcare company. And her and I don't remember how we met, but we worked together a lot. Cheryl was amazing. And she had a very special place in her heart. She still does, for Marines. And I remember, like, if I had a Marine and I needed to knows something. She's like, well, we can go back and find it. Like she knew she could find the event and the people that were in it. And yeah,
Wow.
it's very documented, they could find that. So I think of this and like, imagine if I could say, Cheryl, so all these Marines you have that needs this event, that campaign, that mission, and you could make a digital coin and give that to them. Like I'm seriously making a laundry list in the back of my head right now. Like I was like, oh, I should connect her with. So
Oh, I'm so excited. Thank you.
because I'm like, oh God. And then those people that they can make this coin for that mission or this event or the whatever. But like you said, and then it's connecting them with, it. This is like ancestry.com for coins.
Oh my gosh, I love that. You are a marketing genius. I'm going to use that.
Go for it.
I will credit
Absolutely.
you every time, but I'm going to
I
use
mean,
that.
really, isn't it? Like it's like
Yeah.
that connection because if you do connect, like say you make a digital coin for
Hmm.
a specific campaign, right?
Hmm.
Then you can connect. Like, I mean, you were saying my situation, and I was part of the teams that recovered the USS Cole. And I always said one of the things that saddened me is that I've never found those people again,
Mm.
or I've never run into them again.
Yeah.
But one of the things that did happen, we did get coins from Naples. They gave us coins and very specific, I could still see it in my head kind of
Mm.
coin. And so be able to digitalize that and then send that to all these people because it was more than just the crew. I mean, we had 2 planes and we had crews on
Yeah.
that and medical teams and all that. But all the people that launched us that came in on their time off that, did the behind the scenes, like we would have never got off the ground without those people. And they get no limelight for that. When we got the
Hmm.
awards and stuff, it was the teams that were on that. It wasn't them. So this is a way to me was like, oh my God, we all have that coin. We were all part of this. It's so inclusive and like you said, like when you find out other people that have the coin, you're less alone. Oh yeah, they were there.
Yeah.
They know what we went through. They were
Yeah,
there
absolutely.
and they can relate kind of thing. I just like I have so many like lists in my head. I'm like, oh my God, I could talk to this person. I mean, really, like because there's so much that you
Let's
could do
do it.
with
Let's talk
that.
to all of them because I'll
Let's
tell you,
talk.
Donna, our goal is we want every single one of the 30 million challenge coin holders on our platform. We want to have
Yeah.
their stories to make sure that they have a space to share them and to connect.
All the senior living facilities, all that I literally one of my friends is business development for one of the senior care places, and they have like, I don't know, 20, 30 places just in Texas that they run in. That's just one little place. And
You know,
I
it'd
know
be so
3.
amazing. I don't know how to do this, but I'll figure it out. Because the limiting factor obviously is that once people get older, they're a little bit harder.
Technology,
It's a
yeah.
harder sell for the tech. But how fun would it be to get high school students in collecting challenge coin stories and helping digitize? Like, I would love to build a program
You know what
where,
you
and maybe
could
the high school
do?
kids get like National Honor Society credit or something, and they
I got
just
it.
sit. Tell me.
I got another. That plus there are see, here we are on the podcast. We're going to
Hmm.
develop the story. There is a lot of like veteran voices, veteran legacy, different stuff like that, where they've captured the stories and they're just just their stories kind of thing. And essentially, what I think you could do is with the senior population, because they are technology challenged sometimes, to get their story and then use AI, just or transcribe or whatever boom, like they don't have to get in and click away at it. But if you have this coin or this time, or have the time period and develop the coin for them, you can do both ways. But you could do that, and you could employ high school, and you could look at some of these high schools that are like my kids go to school on a military base. It's Randolph High School,
Amazing.
and the ROTC students and the junior ROTC and the
Yeah,
I
and
think
you
the
know, I'd
ROTC
love to
would eat
get
it up.
I would love to talk to them. And I would also love to talk to the kids that wouldn't touch something like this. Not wouldn't touch, but like wouldn't
No,
have
but
like a place to
yeah.
interact with
Or we didn't know
this
the
group.
impact. Yeah, not to
Yeah,
understand
yeah.
like the impact and to hear the stories. Kind of like when have you seen those places where there are like senior living facility nursing homes and stuff, and they put a daycare in it. And so you're
I think
bridging
that's
that
so amazing.
kind of similar idea, right? So you're bringing these younger
Yeah.
generations that don't really know and understand and letting them hear the stories. And for the senior
Yeah,
population, it's low threat, right? Because they're like kids,
absolutely. And I feel like for them, even if the kid is just recording it and is going to feed it into ChatGPT, the
Right.
fact that there's a human, a teen there that's interested in asking, I think that's really meaningful. And I'll tell you, so my two daughters who are 12 and 15 are absolutely lovely children. We are not a military family. Before I did
Yeah.
this, we had very little interaction with folks that had served. And one of my advisors, Will, who we did this coin for, was kind enough to meet us down at the Navy SEAL course in Coronado and let the kids like test it out, and that part was super fun, all insanely hard, like impossible but super fun, and we got to watch him do stuff. And then afterwards he walked us through a bar that had photos on the walls of SEALs that had been killed in action,
Mm-hmm.
and he showed us where the photos had sort of stopped when he first joined versus where the photos wrap to now. And I was so grateful that my kids saw that, because it wasn't something, and we live in Santa Monica. It's just not something that's covered in their school. Like
Right.
no one has that
You don't
conversation.
have, yeah.
Um, and I think that I think it would be good for our country if more children had that conversation and
To
had that
understand it.
interaction.
Yeah. I see we're gonna come up with all kinds of ideas because I just had like three more pop up. I'm like, nope, we're not gonna do that. Yeah, I promised you we would stop when we're supposed to stop.
Oh, I know. I'll cancel everything. Let's keep talking. 3 more hours.
I know.
We're gonna get this done.
We will. I'm telling you, like, I'm like, oh my God, like all the ideas that are coming in my head are like, it is such it transcends, you know what I mean? It
Mhm.
transcends generations. It transcends, the older generations to the younger, and it connects. It's not just transcending, but it's connecting. And I mean, yeah, I have like a list in my head of like, oh my God, they would do it. Oh my God, there's this, whatever, whatever. That I think that idea of the older and the younger coming together, I think ROTC students in college, that would be
Yeah.
a phenomenal program, and junior ROTC. I think
Oh
you
my
would
gosh, I
have,
love that.
yeah,
I'm gonna work on it. And
have
I'll
connections.
I'll
Awesome.
throw this one other thing out there, even though
Yes.
I did say I have to wrap up, but I'll
Yes.
squeeze this in. We also have really loved this notion of building digital coins for specific milestones, which is really interesting to me, because we've talked to a number of folks that are like, oh, we'd love to have a digital coin that people can display to kind of showcase something that they've recently done or accomplished. And the best example of that is I met with a gentleman who developed a device to help police officers survive shootings, which basically teaches this. It's kind of like a training tool that uses eSTEM to show them what it feels like to get shot.
Oh, cool.
And yeah,
Uh,
it's very cool. Also,
Sort of cool.
extraordinarily uncomfortable. I am the person who didn't think things through and was like, "Oh, I'd love to try it. What does it feel like?" Spoiler: it does not feel good, contrary to popular belief.
On
Um,
reflection.
yeah, exactly. But the interesting thing, and this gentleman is Jim Pierce, with his company is Accuracy Under Fire, AU Fire, which I think is brilliant. But we're working with him on developing a coin. So his training is sort of leveled, and you could do eSTEM level 1, 2, 3, and then
Oh
4 is the
yeah.
highest level. And it's the level that he says really that should be the requirement for any active duty police officers, because if they can't do it in training at level 4, it really calls into question abilities in the field.
Yep.
Um,
Train
I
like you
did not
play.
get to level 4. I got to level 3, and that was plenty, plenty. And then I was like,
You're like, I'm
where
not
is
going to
the
be out there.
fun? Yes, I'm definitely not going to be out
No
there,
ego.
but absolutely not. Oh my gosh. But the point is, he maybe will put, hopefully he's already put thousands of people through this, but we'll do thousands more. And it's prohibitive for him to have a bag full of like coins that he's carrying around. But how great, like that level 4 AU Fire coin, like that really means something. If I saw that, I'd be like, oh, wow. Like I tried that and failed. So the fact that someone has that, it's super meaningful. So there's that whole path of, there's a lot more room to sort of use it as, I want to say mini credential, but also just like, I think the people that did his thing at level 4 should brag about it. Like, I think they should put it on their LinkedIn.
They earned it.
Exactly. And there's room to do that with a platform like ours.
Awesome. Where can they find you, Anna? What's the website?
Okay. So the website is allcoin.braav.co, allcoin.braav.co.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also on LinkedIn, would love to connect with anyone. And the site is currently gated. If you put yourself on the wait list and write in the notes that you heard about it on Donna's Beyond the Frontline podcast, or just put Donna's name in, we'll take you off the waiting list right away and get you access. And I always say it is a beta. We did soft launch literally within the last 2 months. We're growing very quickly, but it does mean that if you find something that doesn't work like Donna did, or something that could be better, send me an email. I will be delighted to have it. Definitely want to hear about stuff that you like, but if there's something that you want to see improved, tell me every last thing, and I would be so grateful.
I think it's good. I mean, it's fun to be on the start of things, right? That's where all like you said it, you're like, we love it when we get a problem that we can solve it, like that makes it one more better. So yeah, that's what you should be. So if it doesn't work, don't freak out. She's in beta, and give her grace for that, and just tell her like, hey, this didn't work. And they're extremely responsive. So just be kind. Yes, I love it.
All right, direct. I'm very fine with direct.
That's right. Well, we're good at direct. So that's why you engage with us. Military, first responders, direct is like, that's all we know. It's funny.
Love it.
All right. I promise I'd get you done by 1:50. Look at us, 1:48, and I'm moving.
Incredible. You're the best.
Any last thoughts or anything?
This has been so much fun talking to you. Thank you so much for the work that you do with this podcast, for your service, and excited to get on that 3-hour brainstorm.
We're doing it. I'm telling you. So, all right, everybody. We're going to wrap this up this week, and we are very thankful for Anna, and I am always thankful for all of you guys. So when you guys get a chance, if you love the podcast, we would love for you to share it with other people. We are not making money out of this. Trust me. We all do this out of the kindness of our heart. The only thing we want to do is spread the word to everybody. So the more you share, like, comment, and if there's something you like, or for some reason you don't know where to find Anna and you forgot, just email us. It's not a big deal. We have all those contacts, but we will also have all this information up on the show notes. So from all of us to all of you, we hope you have a wonderful week.
Thanks for listening to Beyond the Frontline, a podcast of coming home well. Join us every other Wednesday. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. Thanks again. And until all are home and all are well.